Welcome. This is Ellen Kekelkevich, Executive Director of United Partners for Human Services. And this is the third webinar in the UPHS 2016 webinar series. All of the webinars in the series will be posted to the UPHS website after the live event, probably by this Friday. And that website is uphsfl.org. We have several other webinars from past years also archived on the website, and we strongly recommend, particularly for new supervisors, to listen to the ones that are related to supervision, as this one will also most likely help young supervisors or new supervisors. We also hope that it's something that you will feel inspired to implement in your local agencies. This webinar is a repeat of a workshop that was done during the UPHS annual conference that was very well received, and so we felt it was important to bring it to a broader audience. Since you are participating in the live webinar, you'll be able to engage in the Q&A portion and activities throughout the webinar. So simply type your questions and we will respond during those parts of the webinar. And at the end, we'll have an open Q&A portion of the session. So today's webinar is The Power of Thank You. Our instructor is Krystyn Robinson, and she is with Community-Based Care of the Big Bend. Welcome, Krystyn.
Hello everyone and good morning. As Ellen said, my name is Krystyn Robinson and I am the training specialist with Big Bend Community-Based Care here in Tallahassee. We are a child welfare lead agency, and we also provide behavioral health and substance abuse services as well. We serve 18 counties throughout the Panhandle, and we also provide case management services, foster care licensing services, as well excuse me, as adoption services. So I am very happy to be here. I want to thank Ellen and United Partners for giving me this opportunity. So let's go ahead and get started. Again, this is very interactive, so please use the Q&A function when I pose questions, and I look forward to being able to respond to those. All right, so today we're talking about the power of thanks, building a culture of recognition, engagement, and shared values. This is really all about creating a culture, not just learning how to say thank you. Most of us can do that, but how do we create a true culture and a shift in our culture if we're not there already? Put joy, love, hope, laughter, and gratitude in each day. So obviously today our focus is going to be gratitude, but along with that, we have to know how to express love, hope, and laughter. So I have a couple of questions for thought. So the first one today, instead of 3, we can just do 1. But can anybody name one thing that you feel grateful for today, just to start us off on a positive note? All right, so I have 2 respondents. So Keith, my job, fantastic. I think we all can relate to that, as well as Ellen for United Partners members. And then Trish said my health. Very good. Do I have any other respondents out there? All right, well, thank you for those. So we always want to start off optimistic. It's the best way to be able to give gratitude is to have our own positive attitude as well. And Ellen also said my children. Very good. So keep that in mind as we go through this, that self-care and a positive attitude is going to be key to being able to implement these ideas within your agency. All right, and the last question I wanted to ask to focus on love is, who do you love that you can reach out to today, maybe that you haven't talked to in quite some time? All right, Ellen said my dad. Very good, thank you. Anybody else out there? Keith? All right, my sister. All right, we have another respondent. Leslie said her sisters. All right, very good. So keep that in mind as well. Are we connecting with people? All right, and then Trish, my mom. Right, very good. So, and then focusing on ones we may not talk to every day, or continuing the conversations and connections that we have with people already. All right, thank you for that. So keep that in mind as we move through. All right, thanks. The most powerful word in your leadership vocabulary. Right, this is a word that we say so often. Thank you, thanks. We might use it in combination with something else, but it has to be genuine. If it's going to be a powerful word used by a leader, it's got to be genuine. Okay, and it can also be more specific. I don't think at times that we're specific when we thank people regarding what we're thanking them for. Do they know what we're expressing gratitude about? All right, so we have to mean it. We can all get very busy, especially if we're in a leadership role. All right, so we must take the time to slow down, and this will help us build more cohesive, effective teams if we're truly showing gratitude consistently. Creating your culture. Again, as we started out, this is a culture or a culture shift. How do you create the culture within the agency that attracts talent and promotes a spirit of optimism and energy? All right, so culture can be defined as the customs, art, social institutions, and achievement of a particular people. Right, so being able to express gratitude should be one of those achievements that we strive for within our culture, within our agency. And also it attracts talent. And who doesn't want talent within their agency? All right, so something as simple as being genuine and thankful can truly bring that strong talent to your agency that you need to be an effective team. Engaged employees are long-term employees, right? And we want people to stay. We want them to stick around so that we can build that strong team. All right, so what are you doing to show that you appreciate your employees today and also their values or value their contributions over the long term, right? So we can do things day to day, and then we can also do things that are more long term throughout the life or their life and career in the agency. So does anybody have any ideas or contributions that they know they provide every day? All right, a positive attitude. Great. So something we just talked about, and being calm under pressure. All right, so definitely a positive attitude, being able to remain calm, right, so that others around you can feed off of that. Very good. Specifically in human services, retention can be very challenging. So we try to implement as many different strategies as we can for retention. And Trish, thank you. Not every day, but I handwrite thank you notes to staff occasionally, recognizing their contributions. That's fabulous. And that's one thing I was going to suggest is just it can be very simple. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money. It doesn't have to be elaborate, but the small things do count. And I think it's great if one of those small, simple things could actually increase your retention, right? And then we're lowering the amount of resources that we're putting into onboarding and having to constantly seek out new employees. I also have other suggestions, maybe weekly recognition of staff, and then being more specific in regards to what we're thanking them for, like we spoke about earlier. Also being more public with praise. So everybody doesn't like public praise, but for those that do, as you've kind of felt out your team and you know the different personalities, for those that do, give them that opportunity, right? So we can send out an email. Like she said, we can write notes to make sure that they know that they're appreciated. All right, so thank you for your feedback. Other things that I have been offered in the past as suggestions would be extra training. So I know myself as a trainer, some people don't really enjoy going to training, but for me as a trainer, that is a bonus that I'm able to go maybe off site and gather new knowledge, right? It's an investment in myself. So I always see that as a token of gratitude, time off and maybe extended lunches, right? So these again can be very, very simple things that we do that can increase retention. All right. So these are 4 actions you can take to infuse gratitude into your own agency. All right. Recognition of teamwork. All right. So those that do take a team approach, are we acknowledging that they take a team approach? This is so important. People want to be recognized, and we're always advocating for teamwork, work as a team, know your team. But when people are actually doing it, are we recognizing that they're doing it? Acknowledging those who take a team approach, referring to yourself as a member of the team. So if you're in a leadership role, is it my team or is it our team? Right? How are we thinking about our team? Right? Is it people that we treat almost as robots, or are we just another member of the same team? And then also structuring times and activities where members have the opportunity to work as a team, right? So in addition to recognizing it, are we providing them the opportunities to take a team approach and maybe see faces of people who are on their team that they may not associate with as often? So as a leader, we have to provide those opportunities. All right, the second one is celebrating innovation. If you need more innovation, you have to celebrate when it's occurring. And all thriving organizations have strong innovators, right? And they are constantly coming out with new innovations. So some examples would be challenging your team to think of innovations. I know my former supervisor, every time we met, we were talking about how can we become more innovative? How can we be different? Because almost every agency like ourselves has a training department. So what can we do that's different, that sets us apart? And then when we do it, celebrate it. If somebody comes up with a great idea, right, are we praising that, right? Are we making it work within the agency? And as a leader, ensuring that you are also innovative, right? So we can't expect it of the team if we're a team member and we're not innovative as well. All right, always providing examples of innovations because some staff may not understand what you mean. So making sure that as a leader, you're providing guidance of what that would look like. Acknowledging extra effort. Everybody's always requiring extra effort, right? We always do more than what we get paid for. So are we being acknowledged for that extra effort is extremely important. Especially in human services, raises are hard to come by. And bonuses are hard to come by. They're really not to be expected. So how do we acknowledge the extra effort? Like we said earlier, somebody mentioned that Trish said that she writes thank you notes. Okay, we can send an email. We can go to extra trainings and then expressing that we have trust. If they're showing us that they are strong workers, that they do put in the extra effort, right? Maybe we don't have to be as hands-on and show them that we trust them to manage their own time and their job duties. And then lastly, we want to appreciate company values. And this one's interesting to me because to do that, you have to know what they are. Do you know what your company values are? Do you have a way to post them, to make them more public and more obvious? And then when you post them, are people talking about them? Are your company values a part of the conversation? You could include these on evaluations. How does the employee exemplify the values of the agency? You could talk about in staff meetings how each employee is embodying the values, and then continue to express to your team how they can continue in their work using the values of the agency. Giving and receiving thanks can be the ultimate form of communication. So communication can be a fantastic thing, and sometimes it can pose a barrier. And we definitely do not want communication within our agencies to be a barrier. So, giving and receiving thanks can be one of the simplest ways to communicate. Number one, it identifies the right behaviors. So we always want positive reinforcement for our employees. The things they're doing right, we want to praise. We want to keep that positive attitude. This can be done through supervision, and this reiteration of things. When you see positive behaviors occurring, give them that thank you and show them that gratitude in the moment, right, as it's going on, so that it's reinforced. They can also be feedback. So I think one of our most common forms of feedback is the evaluation, the infamous evaluation that probably comes once a year, but it can be so much more simple just to show them that they're appreciated, and that itself can be feedback, right? And it's consistent, so it's not just coming once a year, but it's throughout the year, and again, providing that positive reinforcement. Number three, thanks breaks social barriers. It helps to start conversations and ensure that people and staff also know what you're thanking them for. So again, we have to be specific, right? If it's going to break down social barriers, let's really tell them what it is that we appreciate them for. And it's a common language. Thanks is a common language, right? It means the same thing to everybody if it's expressed the right way. Emotionally, people respond to gratitude, right? And again, it's breaking down those barriers. It sparks an emotional response within someone when they're sincerely thanked for something that they did. Number four, thanks creates trust and social bonds. So we spoke a little bit about trust, but you have to have trust to be a cohesive team and be successful, right? And then providing that opportunity for your employees to bond. As a leader, you have to provide those opportunities to your staff. And then last but not least, it feels good. Gratitude feels good. It feels great for someone to tell you thank you. You were appreciated, that your time and your effort actually meant something. All right, so where it identifies the right behaviors, it provides feedback, it breaks down barriers, it creates that trust, and it feels good. So, excuse me, we started off talking about how are we positive? What positive things are happening in our lives? And are we starting off the day thinking about those positive things? So love what you do and do it well, right? We have to have a positive, dominated workforce. So employees and managers must encourage each other. Learn from successes and failures, and notice, celebrate, and recognize those behaviors that embody company values. Right? So first you have to ask yourself, do you work in a positive environment? And if so, what makes it positive? And then to the contrary, if you feel like it could be more positive, I challenge you to think about what you can do to make it a more positive environment. Okay, it's everybody's responsibility to promote this as a culture. All right, encourage each other. Reach out to your team and tell them what a great job they're doing, right? Make it genuine and make it consistent, right? Just from colleague to colleague, even if you're not in a leadership role, letting them know what you appreciate them for, and again, being specific. If you send an email and say, I appreciate you, my next question would be, well, what specifically do you appreciate me for? All right, so getting the word out there to your colleagues is very important. Learning from successes. So we can talk really well about what's working great within the agency, but we also have to capitalize on those failures, right? And this is kind of an art that kind of has to be mastered over time if you are a leader or in a supervisory role. Okay, so if someone's not meeting a measure or a benchmark that's been set, are you approaching that discussion positively to see how to capitalize on that failure? And you have to be part of the problem solving. You as a supervisor, you have to be able to contribute to that conversation and add, how can you assist in turning this failure into a positive? And again, all of this is based on having a positive attitude. So when we leave today, I really do challenge you every day to think of at least one thing in the morning that you are positive for to start you out on the right note. And then again, noticing those behaviors that embody company values and celebrating them. You absolutely must love what you do, and you have to keep your passion. So, making sure that you're in the right role, that you still have that passion that you started with, so that you can keep the energy that you need to remain positive. Why thanks is essential to culture management. So again, everybody, we talk about managing, and generally we're talking about managing employees, but you also have to be able to manage the culture in which you work. All right, thanks are motivation. They keep a team strong and energized, and a simple thank you can be a huge change in somebody's motivation. Maybe they didn't know how they were doing. They weren't sure how they were measuring up because they weren't getting a lot of feedback. So that one thank you that's genuine can be a real changer for that person. It could really provide the motivation that they need to keep providing the service that they do for the agency. Number two, they're humanizing. So we don't want to lose the relationship and the rapport that we do have with others in the agency. We always want to continue to foster those relationships. Gratitude can remind us that we're working with others who actually have feelings, right? Everybody has job duties and a role that they're expected to perform, but they actually have feelings. These are actual people, and are we connecting on that personal level as well and creating that culture that we're not just here to work, but that we care about the people that we're working next to. And three, thanks are specific. We have said this numerous times this morning, but you have a unique opportunity to tailor your thanks to each individual and tell them exactly what you're thankful about, or thankful for them for. And then why? What is it that their contribution is adding to the agency? How is it enhancing the agency specifically? Thanks are empowering. Right? It tells someone that, yes, they are a team member that has value. I bring something new and different to this team that no one else can bring, right? And without me, the team wouldn't be the same. And it also, again, promotes productivity, which we all want on our teams as a leader or a supervisor. All right? And thanks can be so powerful, right? It feels good. We talked about that. It feels good to be thanked. It can increase productivity. It reduces turnover. It increases trust and connection, as well as the social bonds on our teams, right? So they're very powerful, and they also feel really good to hear. All right, as appreciation builds a healthy culture, gratitude also promotes a healthy workforce. All right, so people who are grateful achieve more. Again, we're promoting positivity and productivity. When you're not doing it for the money or reward, but for the passion, you're always more likely to be productive because you want to contribute. And then again, telling others that you appreciate them. So we can all receive thanks really well, but can we be the grateful people who also give them? And then what are the benefits of that? Grateful people are less likely to burn out. We talked about retention this morning. We definitely want to prevent burnout, and this is about creating, again, that culture. Employees that want to come to work and they want to be productive just for the greater good of the agency. And when the work is appreciated, they're less likely to leave the company. Grateful people can pay it forward. Gratitude perpetuates itself. Someone who is thankful is more likely to appreciate others and act accordingly. It increases emotional well-being. As we discussed, it's great for our personal well-being to be appreciative and to have a positive attitude. And then think of all the other benefits that come from improved well-being, right? So it's not just the gratitude, but think about all the other benefits of just having a positive attitude and seeing the best in things. We want to get along with others, right? We're always talking about team building. How can we be more cohesive? How can we get along and manage the different personalities on our team? All right, we have to learn the different personalities and figure out what works best, right? Once you learn the other people, are you catering the way that you communicate with them? And it can be as simple as showing appreciation, right? Just that gratitude can strengthen your team alone. And then lastly, as being a part of a human service organization and working with others, we're always striving to be more trauma informed, right? We've recognized the significance and the prevalence of trauma. And again, gratitude is just another way to be more resilient to that trauma, right? We have all these methods that we talk about for self-care, and we're always exposed to trauma. We at least on a secondary level at times. So some of you may be in a position where you observe trauma or you read about traumatic experiences. So remember that self-care and gratitude is one of the easiest ways to do that. All right, I want to talk just a moment about a concept called the emotional bank account. Right, so this is just something for you to think about. All right, are you making more withdrawals than deposits? All right, so I want you to think of this as an actual bank account and ask yourself, as I read some examples, is your account balanced? All right, so some examples of a withdrawal might be an argument with a spouse, all the errands that you have to run, right, that you're fitting in between your hours at work, maybe your finances, okay, anything that's causing you stress that might throw you off balance would be a withdrawal. And then deposits. Are you spending time alone? Are you taking time for your family? Are you resting and taking a vacation? Maybe exercising or going out to dinner, right? So I just want you to think about this as we leave today. Do you have a balance? And if not, what can you do to achieve that balance? Right? This could also be done as an activity with your team. Right? You could, I've also done this as a worksheet where you have withdrawals and deposits on each side, and just have your team process and write out what they're doing on each side for withdrawals and deposits to see if they're balanced and if they're taking care of themselves. Mother Teresa wrote in her plan to her superiors that it was mandatory for her nuns to take an entire year off from their duties every 4 to 5 years to allow them to heal from the effects of their caregiving work. So the same concept applies. Now, it might not be an entire year, right? But we have to take our own time for reprieve so that we are taking care of ourselves. Showing consistent gratitude and being an effective leader, it takes energy, right? And it takes time and focus and flexibility. So we have to make sure that we're constantly focusing on self-care. So again, I challenge you to think about that bank account and what are you doing for your own self-care? And maybe we need to increase what we're doing, because we know you can only nurture from your overflow. Right? We have to keep our cup full if we're going to be effective leaders and managers in the field of human services. All right, so I thank you so much. I hope I've left you with some things to think about and implement within your agencies. Again, I'm Krystyn Robinson with Big Bend Community-Based Care, and I want to thank United Partners for this opportunity. Does anyone have any questions at this time? Okay, I see some questions. How do you recommend discussing company values? It depends how they're documented. So I know within our own agency, we discuss them on a larger scale at our staff meetings, and we reiterate them by hanging them up. I would also use them in smaller, maybe unit style meetings where you're going through each one and making sure people know what they are and that they're able to recognize the company values. Creating trust. There's a variety of different ways that you can build trust, but I think the one that comes to my mind is just not micromanaging until you've seen the need, right? Are we giving people the benefit of the doubt that they can do the work that we've hired them to do? Okay, and what we mean by extra effort, what is expected and what is normal. Are we simply recognizing people for doing what they should be doing? That's a good point. So is it truly extra effort? Right, so Ellen's asking, are they really going above and beyond? And I think that's an assessment that the supervisor really has to make, right? What are the expectations, and is this truly extra effort? And if it is, again, we have to be responsible for following up. Right? And do employees need more training about self-care? I think employees always do. I think that, you know, whether you've been in the field for a year or for 10 years, you have to constantly be reminded to take care of yourself because people come into the field because they want to help other people and they want to give their energy and time to others, right? So who would, need a reminder more than those people? All right. Are there any other questions out there? Thank you for the questions. Anybody else? All right. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate this opportunity. Have a great day.